didn't recognize that. You know, he started out from the beginning good because he obeyed, he heard.
It was easy street at that time in the beginning.
A lot of us just set out on our own, but he waited on God to instruct him on when to go.
Mm-hmm.
He just lost sight of God, which caused him to go the wrong direction.
Mm-hmm.
So,
okay. And even in our going the wrong direction, God is still doing what?
He's still guiding us, regardless.
Okay, He's still perfecting is the key word that I'm looking for. He's still perfecting us even in our failures and in our disobediences. He is still perfecting us because He can cause us to grow from that circumstance and situation. Even though it seemed that we can't always have just positives happening in our life. You have to realize there's going to be some negatives. Amen. See, and with these negatives, they can be turned to positives.
That's right.
And that's the beauty of it. I mean, even in Abraham speaking forth a truth at the time, okay, or really a fact. Let's call it a fact. You know, you're fair, and Pharaoh's going to want you. Okay, that's a fact. Okay, but the truth of the matter is that God was in the midst of the thing, no matter, and we're going to see later how God turns this whole thing around, and it all works to the good.
Right.
See, and that's the beauty of who God is. Okay, so number 8. Yes.
To add to that too, we're so concerned about what happens from the beginning and the end, but we forget how the transformation that's going to take in the middle.
Yes.
All
the work.
Yeah.
See, there's work in the middle of this. Okay, there's work that we must do. So that brings us to 8. What have we learned about the Word or the world around us? What have we learned about the world around us?
They're looking for the things we have.
Okay. Not only that, but what else?
They'll oppose us.
Well, the world around us goes against that which is in the supernatural, because it's in total conflict. The world around us is concerned with me, myself, and I, and what it is that makes me great to those around me, and who is around me, that I can hold them into subjection. And even that's what happened with Abram and Sarai. He said, well, you know, so that we can do this thing that God has called us to do, I need you to do this. And he took on the character of the world again, you know. And we, as Christians, tend to do that, you know. Even though we know that there's a spiritual purpose for us, we manifest ourselves by our actions and say, hey, you know, I know this is what God has called me, even with our family. I know God has called me to be a pastor. So, you know, everything that you're talking about is null and void, because God's mission has to go forth. And we're blindsided, even by the purpose of God, that we figure, rather than to let God work it out and move us into it, that we have to take steps that He has not yet ordered for us to make.
Absolutely.
You know, one of the things just to add that I learned about this is that the world, as we look at it in the natural, wants us to be involved in the things of the world. Because even when you watch television, you know, they try to distract you from being in debt to buying all these things that are material. But see, we're supposed to put our thoughts on higher things, on godly things. You know, but we're still distracted by the things that we see around us, and that's what causes us to falter a lot. You know, because we want material possessions, and that's what the world wants us to have.
But that's what the world tells us demonstrates our successfulness.
Right.
Is by our possessions and our power.
Right.
Okay. So if you're not wielding any power and you're not wielding, you know, any assets, then you're nobody. Yeah. And that's what the world would tell us.
And God didn't create nobodies. He created somebody.
As he went back, you take that word sojourner. We understood that right in our life that we're just passing through. You know, as Paul the Apostle said, if I have a lot of content, if I have nothing, I'm content. You know, he understood that he was just passing through And even Jesus said, when they said, "Let me follow him," he said, birds have a nest and foxes have den, but the Son of Man has no place to rest his head. And we say, Lord, whatever you give us or deal with us, we'll be content. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's where if we take that truth, maybe the things in the world won't be so strong to pull us. They kept us. I was born in this world naked. I'm dying naked. And take me with me.
But do we really think and feel that way, and do we really act that way?
Because,
we should. But unfortunately, we kind of get caught up, and we want to be able to. It's not that we want to keep up with the Joneses.
We want to secure our position.
There you go, secure our position. That's exactly right, and that's what we see many times in our lives.
On us.
Okay, number 9. What have we learned about those who are close or around us?
Close around us?
Yeah, like going back with Abram, what do we find out about those that are close or around us?
They can keep us from doing what we're supposed to do.
Okay.
Or the inverse of that.
Yes.
They could build us up.
There you go.
Encourage us.
Courage and support.
Yes.
Okay.
Sometimes we tend to put those that are close to us before Christ.
So that goes back to our teaching when we talk about prioritizing your life. God must be first in any of our lives.
Anything.
Second of all, if you have a spouse, your spouse is number 2. Okay? She's not number 1. She's not number 3. Not number 5. She is number 2. Okay? Or he, whatever your spouse. Okay? You need to realize that. Third would be your children. Okay? So first God, second spouse, third children, if you have. Okay? And then fourth is the church, the extended family. When I say church, I'm meaning your extended family, immediate family, as well as the physical, local ecclesia, called out ones. Okay? Why? They're part of our physical family. We're to have concern for them as well as for ourselves. Then that brings us to number 5. Number 5 is the job. Okay? When we get any of these out of order, then something or someone is going to suffer. Yes, sir.
As we're establishing order as to God being first,
Right.
those who are called into the ministry now, because there were some who would say, well, if the church or the community of the church is for, where does the task of the physical church come into play? So when we say God is number 1, we're talking about our time, personal worship, service to God is number 1.
Amen.
Categorizing the church in number 4 is the actual day of fellowship, assembly, community outreach. That's the category of 4.
Okay.
So we're setting forth an established purpose in what we mean, terminology of what we mean when we say God first.
Right.
Because some would say, well, God first, so I have to be at church X amount of hours, and I must get to the church to do this and to do that, and